and you aiming for the 7 figures. Hear from the experts who know how to deliver. Success stories, plenty advice. Time for you to rise. REI Tribe, yeah. Real estate agents to investors. All my entrepreneurs, time for you to check this. Yoann Dorat, he's getting it started, man. From running businesses to digital marketing. Hey, REI Tribe. REI Tribe. Let's go.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to this new episode of the REI Tribe podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. I have my good friend, John Wahib. So John is the owner of the company called callreals. And John and I actually partner up to bring to Axia Media customers some virtual assistant and call callers and lead managers. And we're going to talk about his background. John is a very special guest because as opposed to most of the guests that we had on this podcast before, he's not living here in the US. He's actually there in Egypt, even though he's a big fan of the American culture. And I think you were actually here a few weeks ago. But I think it's going to be very interesting to understand, your perspective and this unique vision that you have of the wholesaling industry while living abroad. So welcome, man.
Yeah, thank you, Yoann, so much for this introduction. As we always say, like during our normal, meetings and stuff, we always say like, it can be like a podcast, and I think this is where the idea came, right? So,
Absolutely. So for the little story that I think we can share with the audience because it's kind of funny. We actually already recorded this podcast almost a month ago. And we realized after like probably talking for 30-40 minutes that the audio wasn't actually recording. So we are going to do all of that all over again. But as you say, it's the normal conversation that we have every week. So yeah, it's pretty natural for us. So John, can you tell the audience a little bit more about your beginning? Like, how did you get started in this cold calling and real estate industry?
Yeah, sure. So actually I started like 7 years ago. It was back in 2016 and 2016 2017, around those 2 years. I started like as a normal cold caller, like I was doing cold calls, and I was working for a company here in my country in Egypt.
How did you find this job as a cold caller? Like, did you right out of the gate were like, oh, I know some people working in call center, it seemed to be the right way to go? Like, how did you discover this whole telemarketing industry?
Yeah, great question. So I was studying like pharmacy. This is my major. So I have a colleague that was working in this company, and actually I was like at this time I wanted to work anything like for a customer service, customer support. I had no idea about that there is an existing campaign called real estate or wholesaling. I didn't know anything
Sure.
about those stuff. So my friend told me, hey man, I'm gonna refer you and you can join. I said sure. So they at the beginning they usually ask for voice samples or voice recordings, and the surprise that I got rejected at the beginning. So I wasn't
All
like
right.
fluent like this maybe, but and they rejected me a few times, and I kept trying and trying and trying. Then I finally joined, and I was because those rejections during the training, in my mind here I said like, man, am I gonna be able to do this or no? And I have a lot of doubts, if I'm gonna make it or not. So surprised that I started with the company, and for the first months, the very beginning, I was very lucky to know a guy. He was a beast, like getting many leads. I was shadowing him, and he was actually great on the phone. Like, man, I mean, this guy is very successful acquisition right now that I know him. So what happened is, I became like a top achiever from the first month. And this happened like in 3 months in a row, that every month I was like submitting, not less than 120 leads per month. So I
Oh,
remember
wow.
like a month that I submitted like around 180, 190 qualified leads. So this was like the peak. So I was like entering the call, and I remember like there was a website that I used to use, and it shows like the owner and the other addresses. So I, whenever they are interested, I ask them about the next, property, and what about this, what about this. So from one owner I can get maybe 6 7 properties out of it. So during the day I can get like 20
Oh,
leads.
so you mean it's a little bit like in PropStream when you see the other properties that are connected to the same owner, and so you would ask him like, "Hey, how about this property at 1234 Main Street? Do you want to sell it as well?"
Exactly, but the difference is it was like, better quality. I would say it's easier to access. So it was a free website, no logins, and I used to get a lot of leads. And because this call center, know this strategy and try to copy it, I think they blocked it in Egypt. Right now,
Oh,
if you try to open from Egypt, search people free, this is a website I used to use, you can't open it. You have to open like a VPN or something. So after this my numbers went down, right? So
yeah.
um
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it works here either because I never heard of it. But I know there is a ton of websites like this where over the years, as wholesaling became more popular, people were like talking about those little tips, those little secrets here and there on Facebook groups, and so I think those software companies find ways to block all this data scraping because it was like easy to too easy to access.
yeah. So after maybe few, I think they are doing right now like they prevent they have to make sure that you're not a robot or something, the check thing after you
Oh
get
yeah.
like the yeah. So yeah, and this is how I got into the industry. This is how I,
Okay.
you know and
So let
my first.
me, sorry to cut you off, but I'm just curious about one thing though. Like you studied pharmacy, so how do you go from pharmacy to cold calling? Like, was it something that, I mean, you really wanted to work in pharmacy, or is it something that, I don't know, like your family pushed you to do because that was a way to make a good income?
Nothing. So literally nothing. I mean, my family was taking care of me 100%. And I was trying to do it like as a side hustle, to be honest. And it turned out to be like my full time. And I was doing it like so. Here in Egypt, the time zones is different than the US. So let's say I start my university. Maybe I wake up at 7. I go and finish maybe by 5, maybe 4 p.m. I finish my sessions, right?
Hmm.
Um, so after the sessions, I go and start the shift after maybe 1 or 2 hours until 2 a.m. So I used to sleep like there is days that I sleep like 2 hours, 3 hours. It was a very, you know, period of my life that it wasn't like the easiest, but I learned a lot. Like, I like real estate, so that's why I shifted from pharmacy, to do like 100% real estate.
Okay, sounds good. So you never actually worked in pharmacy. You went straight into generating leads for real estate, and you found your way.
Actually, before I start this job, I had to do like so in our university, in order to get graduated, you have to do like some hours, which is training, as a pharmacist in a hospital, and in a pharmacy. You have to dispense like medicines to patients for a certain amount of hours, and you have to work as a clinical pharmacy for in hospitals. So man, it was a disaster. Like when I went like for the training, like for 4 or 5 days in the hospital, I felt like very depressed. Like it
Yeah.
was like, yeah, so people are dying, things are happening, you are in charge, there is a big responsibilities. I'm not saying like I'm not capable of it, but it's not my thing. I felt like
I think it takes a very special kind of character to be able to take it. You have to have this ability to kind of like disconnect your emotion in a way when you work in an hospital. Yeah, that's something I'm very admirative of. I don't think I would be able to do it, but that's something very impressive. So going back at real estate, you started to work for this call center. You became a top achiever after the first month there. When did you do the transition? Like, what happened after that? Like, what was your next step?
So my next step was I kept working there and as a I got promoted as an acquisition, and then I started like at some point. So it was like uh, at some point I knew like I wanted to transition to part-time in order like to have the space to do some other stuff, right? I wanted to work even directly with a client and or search for a client. So I kept working as a full-time until some point. At some point I transitioned to part-time in order like to at least search for a client, and I had no idea how to get this client. I had literally no idea. I don't know even the term of wholesaling. It's just that I was following a script. Um, and I don't know that our niche is wholesalers or anything or
Oh, so that's interesting. So do you think still to this day, because I mean, from the US, we all here, it's part of like this whole real estate investing and wholesaling industry. Everybody is hiring virtual assistant overseas, that being in the Philippines, in Latin America, or in your case in Egypt. Do you think in those call centers still to these days, they don't have like the one really generating the lead, have no idea what wholesaling is?
I think yes. In my company, no. So we give them like the general knowledge about wholesaling, fix and flip, and other stuff. But I remember like we shared like a podio with a client that is used to have another recordings with another agency, and literally like the caller told the owner like, hey, don't worry. I mean um my investor is gonna call you and come to your home with the bag full of cash, and he was serious about it. So this happened. So uh, so the thing is, I think the lack knowledge. I mean, you should give those callers knowledge in order to be able to deal with objections, rebuttals. Those VAs need to invest in
Absolutely.
them. Yeah,
Yeah,
give them
absolutely.
knowledge
I
in
was
order
just
to give you.
wondering because now we live in a world that is so connected. Look, like we're able to do some business together, and you're other way across the world. So with like social media and YouTube and all those things, I'm wondering if the callers have like the curiosity to go on YouTube and watch some videos, because I know you did. I know that's what you did to really learn about this industry. So I'm just thinking, is it only you because you already had this kind of entrepreneur mindset and you wanted to learn more and acquire more skill set? Or is it something that a lot of people are doing in your country of, trying to acquire this knowledge?
So the thing that I discovered by time is I'm having a lot of people actually that comes to us and apply and say, hey, I did work with a client before, but they
Mm,
are not, they just want like a fixed salary in a company that is 100% guaranteed that by the end of the month the salary is going to be there. Maybe they have a bad experiences, like some people scam them or didn't pay them by the end of the day, or something happened, some bad experience. But I would say like it have to be like most of the people are looking for better chances. I mean, if they're working for um a company that is paying them maybe a certain percentage, why they don't go ahead and work directly with a client? The thing is, sometimes the client themselves or the wholesaler is not looking to work directly with an individual because they don't have the time to manage or to coach or do
absolutely.
whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a very important point, because I've seen both sides. I had some virtual assistant. At some point I had almost 25 callers in my company, in my wholesale business, and I was doing a lot of interviews. So the feedback that I got on the virtual assistant side was, "Oh, I got burned in the past. I gave everything to work with this particular wholesaler, and out of sudden, like he just pulled the rug and fired everybody, and we didn't add any income anymore. Or I worked for this guy for 30 days and then he never paid me. So I got this feedback a lot. As far as the company, as a wholesaler here, hiring all those virtual assistants, and I think that's how we met actually. I had this issue coming back all the time. I would go on Upwork or other websites like this and hire people, but then it was very hard to manage them. Like we always had to, look for new people all the time and hire, fire every week. It was almost an entire business within the company. And one of the issues that I saw hiring directly virtual assistant for cold calling is that we would have someone on an interview that has a perfect English, that has a perfect skill set that we're looking for. We hire them,
Not consistent.
and then when we do the quality control on the back end, we realize that it's actually someone else making the phone call. Because a lot of people on Fiverr actually do that. They're going to have someone that present very well, that is going to sign the contract with you, and then on the back end, it's going to be someone else that they're going to find in the city that doesn't have the same skill set and is willing to work for way less, and they make the spread on the difference. So I would say that it's really the big advantage when you work with a company like yours is you're not hiring one person, you're hiring a company. So if this person doesn't fit, you're going to have a replacement, and they're all following the same training, and you are here every day to kind of manage them and make sure that they are here on time. It's the right person that you hire that actually makes the phone call. So there is a way more safety than going on your own to find someone.
Yes. So my opinion about that you have to take care from the beginning. Like from the beginning when you are recruiting, take it from the first step, right? You have to put some parameters, and just follow it. So for example, asking, it's not, for example, here we don't hire people that are not only fluent and not only like have experience. So if they are fluent and they do have an experience, this is like, I would say, like only 40%. There is some questions that you have to ask to make sure that they are going to be consistent. One of them is just maybe ask them about the previous experiences that they had and why they left, and try to keep digging and digging. And maybe, so one of them said like, because I'm not getting promoted. So I told him, hey, you're not going to be promoted here. You still want to work? He said yes. So this wasn't the right answer, right? So here you keep digging, and this is when it comes to the mass hiring. Like when you are hiring a lot of people, you need a lot of recruiters. Those recruiters are following like certain guidelines in order to give you the awaited results or the results that you're looking for. And here is from my experience. It's better to hire like a VA that had no experience before and train them from scratch. It's better than starting with someone that is having already an experience, because he's already going to be burned out. This is like, other than you're going to make him like in a position, this is something else. But if he's still going to work as a cold caller, I would highly recommend to go for a fresh one, like someone who haven't done it before.
Absolutely. I think that's a very good advice. And another thing too is like, if you want to train someone to use your method, your script, you want them to do things a certain way, it's always going to be easier taking someone that is fresh, that you can really train to your ways, than someone that already has experience. Because the problem is, getting someone to unlearn something that they've been doing for years is very complicated. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I remember like a story, like one of the agents that we have came and applied, and he mentioned that he was used to use a certain script, and then when he did work for that client was really stubborn to a point that he just wanted him to follow the script as is, and that he didn't manage, like, not to get back to his the script that he has in his own mind. Like, so this
And
was like, yes,
he probably sounded like a robot, because I mean, when you really follow a script word for word, it sounds terrible.
yes, I agree 100%. Yeah.
I'm surprised no one tried yet to use AI. Now you can have AI like, reading a script word for word. I'm pretty sure for the one doing that, it's going to sound exactly identical.
Don't tell him.
All right, man. So going back at finding your first client, let's keep moving on this story.
Yes.
How did you find this first client, and what was the relationship like?
Yep. So I didn't find my first client. So what happened right then is um I kept searching and searching, and then like someone told me, like, maybe go and search for on the freelancing websites. And I was like, oh, okay, that might be a good idea, that I never thought about it, right? So I went there, I signed up, and it I discovered, like, it's not easy to, there is a lot of competition, because now you're competing with all, worldwide. It's not only Egypt that you are competing with.
Oh,
So
absolutely. I always wonder how people like find clients on those platforms because when you type, I use Upwork many times. You post one thing, you have like thousands of people reaching out, and it's very hard to kind of like differentiate them. So uh, it must be very very difficult to like find your spot in this kind of platform.
yeah, it was very very hard at the beginning, that I had to, to work as an appointment setter. I had to accept it in order, like, to make my account, like, have earnings and stuff, so I can
Sure.
then, yeah, and feedbacks. And I had no experience with the appointment setting. That I did work as I did work for an insurance company. It was very funny. Like, it was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do it. So, and I did work as a salesperson for a digital marketing. So I did work those two jobs at the same time. Um, each, like, for a certain amount of hours, so they weren't like full time. So I used to work on each one, like a certain amount of hours, until finally I found, like, my first client. And it's here's the adventure starts. So the first client um literally, like, made me learn everything. It's not because he wanted me to learn, it's because he let me do everything, from, you know getting, like, uh you know the lists, and doing the cold calling, sending offers, doing the closing, finding a cash buyers, and scheduling appointments for it.
So before
um
doing that, were you already like looking at what is this wholesaling thing and like deep diving into everything, or is it because he asked you to take care of that basically you didn't have a choice, you had to figure it out?
Um, Actually, I don't remember if before this client, I knew the wholesaling or not. But what I'm 100% sure, that I um didn't know, like, a lot of things, like a lot of stuff, like the cash buyer, so a lot of terminologies. Like, I didn't know that there is, like, title company existing. Like, if we both agreed on a price, that's it. So we are good to go.
Yeah.
uh, there is a lot of things that I didn't know. So I and surprisingly, we did a lot of closings. It just came to a point where he made, like, so we agreed on a certain percentage, and my percentage was getting higher and higher every time we close a deal. Um, and what happened is, he closed, like, a deal with a crazy amount of, assignment fee, with the, I think it was nearly the seven figures. No, six figures. So it was six figures, of course, not seven. Six figures. And what happened is, he just ghosted me. He didn't want it to give me my,
That's
yeah.
very short-minded on his end because obviously, like no one likes to get a big check, but if you were basically running this guy business, it means like he's deprivating himself of one of his biggest assets for not paying one commission.
Yeah, I mean, like, he and by the way, like, because I'm the one who was in charge to send the contracts and stuff. I was, he gave me, like, the business email to send the contracts from. and I was like going in, signing in, sending the contracts, and finding like other orders on Amazon, buying chains, gold chains, and and those stuff. Like, man, what are you doing? Like, just can you please focus? um,
Wow.
yeah. So he was like, I think he's not focusing, or he just maybe thought that this is only gonna happen one time, and
I'm going to tell
yeah,
you what it is. The problem is in this industry, a lot of people are treating wholesaling not as a business. They're treating it more like as a side
gambling.
hustle, Yeah, it's really what it is. They don't have this mindset of, oh, I'm going to build something that is sustainable and I'm going to do it for a long period of time. Because if they were doing that, they wouldn't burn any bridge, They would like nurture those relationships, like this relationship that he had with you. But because probably it was like, oh, this wholesaling thing is going to last a year or two, and then I'm going to go to e-commerce or like anything new shiny object syndrome that is going to show up. It's probably why like he didn't mind it to burn you out.
Yeah, I think this is what happened exactly, because every call that we have, um, he wanted to show like this is like a small business, one of his businesses. Um, and I don't want to talk bad about this guy. Actually, I mean, he unintentionally made me learn a lot of things. Which I'm thankful for, right? So yeah, I learned like how to call cash buyers list, how to marketing, how to do disposition, how to do this and that. So actually I learned a lot during this phase. And then during the next step was that I got in touch with another investor. This investor was in Kansas City, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
This was like an angel. So he was a very, very decent guy that, so the first guy was very toxic, by the way. I forgot to tell you this. So the second guy was, for me, like, he
We
was a
say we
very,
say we wouldn't talk shit about the guy, so
yeah,
let's
I forgot
let's
about
leave
that.
him
I couldn't.
let's leave him where it is. All right, so let's go back to the angel in Kansas City.
Yeah, so the next guy, what I was trying to say here, that the second guy was an angel if you compare them with the first one, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not talking shit about the first guy here.
Okay.
So the second guy was very decent, gave me actually access to a lot of tools like PropStream. He gave me an access, I remember, for a course that is, I think it was like $10,000 or something, but you can give access to your team members, and
Mm-hmm.
he did it. So he was like giving. He was a giver. Like, he just wanted to. He wanted me to learn. And I was just, like, I would say, like a virtual assistant. So he was really, investing in me, and we did like a lot of deals together. That he made a lot of profit. I made a lot of profit. It just came to a point where he got promoted in, I think he was working in a software company, and he got promoted to like CFO or CEO position. So it was like a big promotion for him, and he had to take the choice to pause his campaign, at least for now, because it's like a phase that he have to focus on.
Okay.
Yep. Then I started like getting a lot of invitations on those freelancing websites. And every client that I'm working with just, you know kept asking me if I knew like someone like me to work as a cold caller. And here I know, like, I wanted like to train those people, to train a VA, and maybe get him on the phone. So it did work out one by one. We started like I remember, like, I had the first employee that did work with me maybe for 90 days. I didn't scale, so it was like 90 days. At 90 days that he was like working with me, without any like additions or any other people's.
All right. So you were saying that when you were starting to receive a lot of invitation on those platforms like Upwork and those other freelancing platforms.
Yes, and actually the clients started to ask me like if I can bring someone like me. And actually, like, I remember, like, they did ask me if I can coach them and train them. I had my first one, um and I kept training him, and he had a great results. That at some point he was like, because I got burned, as he said, as we said in the beginning. So he was having actually better results than me, doing the cold calling thing. Um,
How long did
you
it
know,
took you to get burned on cold calling?
a lot. So I did work as a cold caller for a long time, a long time. Like
Okay.
it's because, and I think here is the thing. So if I kept working at the other company, the first company, um, I was already burned out. So I think the the I would say the minimum wage or the hourly rate, which is the salary, makes a lot of difference. It gets you motivated, want to get like more leads, and you want to you know um make add bonuses, KPIs and stuff and targets so they can achieve those, and keep them motivated. um
Absolutely. So my question to you is, do you think there is like people that can do an entire career just cold calling, like people cold calling for like, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 years? Or do you think after a few years, it's so intense to be on the phone all day long that after a few years, you have to switch to something else because you get burned out?
I think 100% at least if they are gonna do the only real estate. So I
Mm-hmm.
think they should be working on their skills, and maybe go for acquisition or closing, right? Um so
That's a very interesting point. Do you think, because we've been talking about this acquisition a few times, I mean you mentioned it a few times. Uh, do you think it's possible to find closers overseas? Because we have this in this wholesaling industry. Usually, we have this kind of like um, thought that you can subcontract the marketing part. You can find people overseas to manage your call calling, your texting, like a lot of this back office, even sometimes transaction coordination or other things. But the acquisition has to be done here in the US by American in an office. So, uh, since you're there overseas and you've been doing acquisition yourself, do you feel it's a skill set that you can find overseas? You can find some closers overseas?
100% yes. So I know a company that you know it. It's a competitor, by the way. And all the closers, and that they do have a department for the acquisitions and closers, and all of it from Egypt. They are very sharp people, and they can at least close, I would say, 3 to 4 deals a month sometimes. um so yes, the answer is yes, but it's not
So,
everyone that can do it.
so my question for you, John, then is, if you know to pull the lists, you know to do the call calling, you know to do the acquisition, and you know to do the disposition, why don't we see more companies like wholesaling company from Egypt just doing business on their own without working for an American company?
Again, I think because we discussed this in our previous podcast, I remember.
Yeah,
It's
but
because
this
they
one
don't.
this one is gone. That's why. But it was a very interesting conversation, so that's
Yeah.
why I want to bring it back for the audience.
Yep. So I think the reason is, if people knew how the process is, or like the legal side is, how to do it, 100% they are gonna do it. So I would say if someone here from Egypt know how to call, the can close deals, um they can like put people or sellers under contract,
Mm-hmm.
um and they know how to find cash buyers, and then they can, like, get it through the title company and everything like this. I would say 100%, 1000% they are gonna do it. But the thing is, I think you have to have a partner in the US,
Mm.
because at some point you need, like, your legal name, and some stuff that is not gonna work
Yeah,
within the title company.
probably I'm not entirely sure about that, but maybe on the corporate side, you might be right. I think I know that as a foreigner, you can own a company here in the US, but you probably need to have like either a partner or a registered agent, or there might be some hoops to that you need to jump through. All right. So, um, going back at this third gig that you had working for this guy in Kansas City, I think you say.
Yes.
Um, what were your responsibilities there that you could use to perfect your skill set? What were your responsibility for him? Was it like the first guy you were touching a little bit of everything from sending the contract to
So the good thing is that this guy don't mind me doing anything. So, but the good thing he had access to a lot of cash buyers, so I don't have to do this. The only thing that I have to do is filtering the leads, which is vetting the leads, and then maybe I can. And he was sharp on sales, by the way. Like he was easily getting owners or sellers under contract for the price he wanted. So he was sharp, I would say, on regarding closing deals and stuff. Um, but he gave me access to do whatever I can. Like I can send contracts as well. I can find a cash buyer if he didn't find it. Like if he didn't find it, I can go ahead and search for a cash buyer as well. So he gave me a lot of I would say accessibility to a lot of things.
All right, sounds good. And so, if I understand correctly, because this guy was the first one really asking you to provide uh, more colors for his business, that's really how you get started with callreals, as finding other people, starting to manage them, training them for cold calling, right?
Yeah, so callreals, the brand came after a few years. It's not like right away. Because I started with a few callers. I remember like 6, 7 callers. Um, then I didn't know anything about marketing and finding a good partner. Um, and I didn't know a lot of stuff. So I had to, I gained a lot of experience during those years before I launched my brand, which is called Reels. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I've done is I put like a certain hierarchy, like there is like a caller, then there is like the account manager that manages this caller, and there is a quality manager that listen to the calls before submitting the leads and can coach the caller as well as the account manager, so he can be coached by the quality and the account manager. um so there is like certain hierarchy that I put here in order to make sure to give or to provide the highest quality, and other things I have done in the recruiting as well, just to make sure that we are um hiring the right people, the right callers that we want.
All right, sounds good. So, tell me a bit more about this transition. From like working with this guy, um, starting to recruit and manage your first few colors. Like,
Yes.
what happened? How did this transition from doing that to doing what you're currently doing now happen?
Yep. So I kept working as cold calling when I was like getting clients, but then I took the decision that I have to stop. And it's not no. So I wasn't working as a cold calling, actually. I was working as an acquisition.
Mm.
I did work as an acquisition with a guy in Columbus, Ohio, a long time while I was doing the other building my company.
Is it
So
something that you enjoy, the acquisition side?
yes, as
Yeah.
long as the leads is good, yes. So if the leads is like, and here's like an interesting part, like there is like very a lead can vary a lot when it comes to equality depending on the source. So inbound marketing or outbound marketing. Um, I would say, of course, the inbound marketing is a higher quality than the outbound. Cold calling and texting is considered as outbound marketing, but still, if they are vetted right, and this is what I'm trying to do, and what I'm doing, if the leads is vetted right and it's qualified per certain parameters, it will definitely worth it. Like it will be a very good channel. Um,
That's a very
and
good point.
yeah,
And I think every scaled wholesaling company should have a balance between both. It's what I always say, and that's why I partner up with you to bring also cold calling to our customer. Just because, in my opinion, the customer of my agency, Axia Media, that does PPC and Facebook leads, should always diversify in cold calling as well, because you never know what could happen. Obviously, the lead that we generate on inbound are going to be better quality, but on the other side, sometimes Google does some weird things like what we call a Google slap, which is basically Google changing the algorithm, and all of a sudden your campaign don't perform anymore. If you don't have another channel like outbound marketing to counterbalance everything, well, you're in big trouble, because then you have an entire staff and you have some expenses and you don't have any income coming in. So I like having a balance on both. And then I feel for the one that can't afford to do both at the same time, it really depends where they're at in their business. Someone that might not be the sharpest closer or is just getting started, I would recommend going more for the cold calling. Why?
Yes.
Because they want to have a lot of repetition. They want to have a lot of leads coming in that are not going to be the most motivated lead, but they're going to have a lot of conversation, so they can really perfect their skill set. Now, obviously, if you're already the sharpest killer, the sharpest closer out there and a real killer, then you want to go for PPC, Google AdWords, Microsoft Ads. Why?
Yes.
Because the motivation is there right now. You can jump on a call with this guy and close him right away. But the problem is those leads are more expensive. So the problem is if you're not a sharp closer, then you're just going to waste your money. And in this case, it's better to just go with cold calling, making a lot of phone calls, and grabbing the low hanging fruits.
Yes, you got a point that I was going to say, like if the first step that you have to take, because here's what happens usually, like people hear about wholesaling and they just want to start it, and then they go and hire a VA. So here you can stop. You can do the cold calling yourself at the beginning. You have to do it at the beginning. You have to follow a certain script in order to do the closing or the acquisition side. Again, I mean, I'm not saying that it's a must, but you have to at least do, go. You don't have to purchase even a list. Go on Zillow or go on any website like Zillow. Find maybe off market properties, and or on market properties, and go call them, and or listed by owner. So you can call the owner. You can just try to work on your negotiation skills, right, and give offers. This is how I encourage, like, any wholesaler that is starting new and wanted, like, to maybe add to his skills and to his
Oh,
uh
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Every single day, I'm talking to people that are like, oh, I'm just getting started. Should I do this? Should I do that? Oh, I watched those videos and this guru said this, or I should do that. I'm like, no, if you haven't done any deals yet, or you haven't done at least 10 deals, you need to hang up the phone right now. You need to go on the MLS, try to have some conversation for sale by owner, some conversation with agent, just add some repetition. And then your first few deals, you should probably just do joint venture. You probably don't have a cash buyer list yet. You probably don't have the expertise to really dispose those deals. So just provide some value to someone else and learn. That's really key. I think there is different stage to this game.
Yes, that's 100% correct. Um, which is, people want to do this really too quick. Um, it's you have to be patient. You have to learn a lot of things. It took me like 7 years, to get where I had a vision right then. It really took me 7 years. 7 years. I don't know how many days this is, but it took me a lot to be there. Yeah, so as I was telling you, like, people are getting it, like, there is no patience. Like, in wholesaling, you have to be patient, you have to learn. And it's not like it took me, like, literally like 7 years to get where I am right now, to know how to train people, know the tricks in the game. It's a game right now, and the market is very, very competitive. The wholesaling game is became very competitive. It's not like what it used to be before. So you have to be patient, use the right strategies, try
So
every possible strategy.
I was about to ask you that, like in those 7 years of experience cold calling for real estate, have you noticed a difference between your first dial and today? Obviously, you're not dialing anymore, but when you listen to the dial of your team, do you feel any difference in the number of lead generated or like the feedback that you get from homeowners? Like, uh, what are the difference?
100%. So right then, I think the owners was like being surprised you're calling them and asking them if they want to sell, and it was something new to them. So
Mm-hmm.
I remember that they was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do it. Like, and they had no idea like this is like maybe if someone like had like an investment property, he's tired and as being a landlord or something. So this is was something new, something. Someone is calling him on the phone, asking him if he want to sell, and they will be offering him a cash offer. You know, so it's not like the was used to that they have to go with a realtor, that they have to list it, that they have to pay anything. And that was like actually wholesaling helped a lot of people. I'm not gonna lie. So wholesaling came, and it did help a lot of people that um, had no budget to list the properties, no budget to upgrade the property, and or people who was really distressed, they want to sell as soon as possible, or they would have lost in the property, right? So I would say like from then to now, yes, there is huge difference. People now are getting to a point where they are being like um getting a lot of calls during, because the market became so competitive. So maybe for one property, for one owner, he's getting like many calls during uh a short period of time. So yes, there is difference, of course.
So you see a lot of people like getting sometimes like upset because they're like, "Oh, you're the 15th person calling me this week," or something like that, right?
Yes, especially in competitive markets. And that's why you need to be creative. That's why you need to be different. That's why you need to build rapport with the seller. That's why you need to be unique from the other cold callers or investors or whatever. You need to offer something, right? So they can feel comfortable, and they give you the, if they want to sell, obviously, so they feel comfortable talking to you. So you have to be different, yes.
For sure. So let me ask you something. In historically in the industry, a lot of people were hiring from the Philippines because I don't know, for some reason, like there is a lot of telemarketers in the Philippines, a lot of call center. Uh, what is the main difference between you guys in Egypt and the Filipinos? Like, what difference do you see on the calls for real estate?
Yeah. So two things. From and this is like for me, I never dealt with a Filipino agency or anything. So this is like something that what I'm gonna say is the feedback that I got from the other clients that we are working with. I'm not 100% sure if this is right or not. If this is like you know, um,
That's
exactly.
that's that's a legal disclaimer right now. He's
Yeah,
giving
yeah,
us a legal disclaimer.
yeah. You caught me. So yes, so the feedback that I got, that they have like maybe a lot of natural disasters that happen. So consistency is one thing, that there is maybe outages, there is maybe things that are happening. We're not gonna mention the two internet outages that I had during this podcast, okay? So so I'm just kidding. And the other thing, which is the language barrier. So I would say like with Egyptians, they still have an accent. of course. But it's kind of like, I don't want to be like, it doesn't sound like that they do have an accent. Like, let's keep it
Yeah.
that way. It doesn't sound like scammy. Okay, so I this is the word that I got from the other clients. That their maybe their accent is sound more scammy.
Yeah, we lost you again. So
Yep.
that's actually the fourth power outage. I think the Filipinos are going to make fun of us on this podcast. So
Ma-
you were talking about the accent. You were saying that there is
yes.
a difference of accent, and um, I mean, I can talk from experience on this because I have many Filipinos in my team, and I had some guys from Egypt and from Latin America. Um, the problem with Filipinos, and they're great. I had some amazing people in my team from the Philippines. I feel like for most of them, they have this slight accent that is very recognizable. Why? Because here in the US, everybody hire in the Philippines for solar company, insurance company, um, God, even like Amazon has virtual assistant in the Philippines. So we're used to receive a lot of phone calls every single day from Filipinos. And so the problem is people now kind of like assimilate, oh, Filipinos equals telemarketing or equals scam sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's the difficult part. They're very good callers. They're very good at following a script, but their accent is going to be assimilated to a scam just because of the volume of dials. That's not something like Egypt. I started to hear really about hiring people in Egypt probably like 3 or 4 years ago. I think it's not as developed as it's been in Philippines, where it's been like that for 30, 40 years. And so right now, it's not like people don't really recognize the Egyptian accent.
Yes.
So I think it's very good. I agree with you on like the climatic events. It happened to us sometimes to have the VA, disappearing for a week because they have typhoons there, which is kind of similar to the hurricane that we have here in Florida. Um, and so the power can go out and not come back for an entire week. So that's also something. And then sometimes, I mean, like, unfortunately, and I don't want to generalize, but the living conditions are actually very different. I mean, we can see you right now. You have an office chair and drywall behind you that is very similar to my office here. In Philippines, we had some colors with rooster in the background. So I don't know if you're hiding the rooster right now, but I don't believe you have any roosters hanging around. But that's the kind of thing that sometimes create kind of a gap between the seller and the color. So I would say that's the main difference from my feedback.
Yes. So, as you mentioned, quality of life can be one thing that is affecting their performance. And I don't, you know, here in Egypt, this can be something as well. So from the recruiting, here's my advice: when you're recruiting, make sure that they do have a headset with a noise cancellation thing. So it's a very easy thing to get. It's affordable. It's accessible. So with any VA that is working as a cold caller, just make sure that they do have like a noise cancellation in their headset and a USB mic, and that's it. And
All right. So
yeah.
what would be your top advice for someone who wants to hire a virtual assistant? Of course, we're going to talk about callreals and what you can do for them. But if someone wants to go on their own and like do some interviews and find someone in Egypt, for example,
Yeah.
what would you recommend them to do? What would be the step to kind of like filter those interviews and find the best profile?
Yeah, 100%. So I would say, don't start a meeting or get into a meeting without those three things. So here's like the first step, right? If you want to hire an individual and you choose like you want to hire an individuals working one-on-one and not going with an agency, here is my top advice to do, and here's what we do in our agency. This is like a secret that I'm giving out here. So first thing is, don't start like don't schedule a Zoom meeting or whatever, like the app that you're gonna interview the caller with, without them sending three things. First thing is a voice recording for themselves, um maybe introducing themselves or reading a certain script. First thing. Second thing is um sending like a picture of their headset that they are using. Make sure that it's a USB headset. Number three is a screenshot showing that they are cable connected and showing the like the speed internet. um so don't accept anyone with a speed less than 12 megabyte download and 3 megabyte upload. This is like the bare minimum, right? um those are the three or four things that you have to be careful with. Make sure that they have a laptop, fast laptop or PC. I'm not sure, I'm not saying like crazy specs, but at least like things that are making sense, right? So then you can schedule an interview. So if you find like that they do have like a good accent, um they're fluent, they do have the other requirements, and they fulfilled it, so now you can schedule a Zoom interview. When you get into the interview, start filtering from those people. After you finish um every interview with them, don't I mean, please type your notes, your concerns about every candidate that you did interview. Then after you finish, make sure that you recorded those meetings and you get back to them, because let's say you hired someone, you want to make sure that they are actually the ones that they are going to be calling, because sometimes, as you said, Ewan, they make other people work for them. They are not the one that are they are because they are perfect, and they can just have people work for them, and just they are doing great at the interviews. So they make people work for them, instead them being, the one that you have actually choose them to work for. So
Absolutely.
yeah, those are my top advices.
All
Hope
right.
that helps.
Very good. I'm sure it provides a lot of value. Thank you for sharing that. That's actually pretty close to the process that I was using and that I'm still using today when I hire some people in Latin America, for example, for different tasks in my agency. That's exactly the process that we use. We start by asking them to send a Loom video. The only thing that we do that is not included in your process, it's like a behavior test. So we use different online behavior tests that we send them to see what kind of profile they have, because some people match more like a sales profile, some people are going to be more like for back office. So depending, each role in the company has a different profile, and we're going to look for different index. But other than that, it's exactly the process that you just stated. I think it's a very good advice.
Yes. So, if people or wholesalers do this when they want to hire their VA, those are the top advices that they can use to get like a top tier caller.
All right, sounds good. And so now I think we're running out of time, but let's just go for a little plug here. So can you tell us like what is the value of working with an agency such as callreals, a call center, a professional call center, instead of hiring some VAs directly? Tell us a little bit more about the value for someone.
Yes. I'm gonna tell you like what to look in any agency before working with. I'm not talking about my agency or anything. Um, so first of all, you have to make sure that they are experienced. They are not like only hiring like a VA, because there is like agencies that only responsible to hire a VA, that they are not experience it in the real estate. So make sure that they are focusing on one niche, which is real estate. This is the first thing that you can do, or at least maximum two niche. So maybe real estate and solar. That's it. that they are not accepting any campaigns. This is the first thing to do. Um, Second thing to do is, or one of the advantages that you will get when working with such an agency, that you will save a lot of time. So if you are in a position that you're working maybe a 9 to 5 job or anything like this, or still doing W2, or maybe you are having already like a lot of leads in the pipeline, so you want to focus on those, and you don't want to waste time monitoring, recruiting, and coaching, and keep micro monitoring them. So I would say like agency will be the best choice to go for. Other things to take a look when hiring an agency. Every real estate agency are using a dialer. You have to have you have to get access to this dialer. I know many agencies in the field, they are using dialers, and they are using your lists, but they are not giving you access to the dialer. I don't know the reasons. I'm not gonna say they are doing something wrong, but you still have the right to listen to the calls at any time. You have the right to maybe go ahead and do some adjustments or do whatever you want, right? So this is one thing that you have to take a look at. You have to have access to the dialer. And when you are during the onboarding, you have to, so it's really famous that you ask for a call samples. Everyone or every call center can bring the best call samples, and they will send it to you, right? So of course and maybe they are not their employees. So what you do is, in the onboarding, they share screen and they show you live call calling or leads from the dialer that they got maybe recently. Those two things that you have to do. Asking for call samples is just like telling them, hey, send me any call samples. I just want to gain some experience. That's it, right? So just maybe do like ask them to share screen and to make you listen to some live calls that have been done recently. And third thing is, make sure that they do have like at least callers that I would say like don't have a very heavy accent. I mean, at some point, like, you have to be fair, because you're hiring like overseas. They will have an accent, but at some point it's acceptable, right? So this is one thing that you have to take a look for sure, and take in consideration. Make sure that to take a look at their scripts, right? To make sure that they are asking all the qualifying questions, like asking price, condition, reason for selling, closing timeline, mortgage, and occupation, and every other details, and that they do confirm on the address, name, and all that stuff. Last thing is, make sure when they submit the lead into your CRM, you're getting it with the recording with that. So they have to attach the recording to your CRM, because a lot of agencies, what they do is every lead or every call that exceeds the minute, they consider it as a lead, and you don't know what is happening in this call. And when you call them, it's like, I'm not interested to sell in the first place, right?
I see.
So
Yeah.
it can't be considered as a lead. This is not right. So I would say like a lead have to be like someone who is interested, that have an asking price, that did answer all the qualifying questions. Yes.
All right, that's a pretty good advice. And so one of the things that I've noticed, sometimes people are thinking, hiring maybe a call center instead of hiring a VA directly on Upwork, it's going to cost me a fortune. Like, they're going to sell me these services probably like 10 times the price of a VA on Upwork, which is really like false belief, because I noticed that most of the time it's actually approximately the same price between the cost of your services and the cost of someone that you would hire on Upwork. especially because now on Upwork, most people with experience in cold calling are going to start with very high rate right out of the gate. So can you give me a little bit more context on that?
Yes. So I would say if you're gonna hire like an average caller with the minimum, I would say let's say $5 per hour. Okay. If it's full time, it's around 22 working days, 9 hours. If you do the math, that's 198, right? So if it's 5 hours, that's around 1,000, right, per month. And for an agency, it's gonna be maximum 100, 1,200, 1,300. That's 200 or maximum 300 maximum. You're getting like with the call center, you're not recruiting. They are recruiting. They have account manager that coaches and monitor the caller 24/7 during their shift. They listen to their calls, they coach them. And not only this, you're getting quality manager as well. So the leads that are being submitted are going to be listened to, and make sure that the caller did ask all the questions, and that it's actually a qualified lead per your parameters. So you're not only getting like caller, you're actually, let's say it like this, you're buying your time, you're saving a lot of hours to focus more on the leads instead of focus more on the records that you just uploaded in the system, and that you want to coach the caller during his shift and monitor.
Absolutely, that's a very good point. So man, we're running out of time here, so thank you first of all for taking the time to go over all of this with me. I think you share a lot of value with the audience as far as what to do if they want to start hiring virtual assistant for cold calling. That being either on their own, you give them a lot of like key advice on how to recruit and filter out the VAs, but then also the real value of working with an agency. And as we can see, there is pro and cons on both model. After having all those VAs in my company for so many years, I choose to subcontract this part because I think it's way more valuable at some point. You have as a business owner to, as you say, buy back your time. So it's better to completely subcontract this part and have someone handle all of that. One of the things that I would say though, when you were saying, hiring someone at $5 an hour, in my experience on platform like Upwork, you can find callers at $4 or $5 an hour, but those are not going to be the best one. Those are going to be the one really starting out. If you want the same quality of callers than the one that you have at callreals, but I've been able to listen on the calls, it's really VAs that would cost you $8, $9 an hour on Upwork. So if you keep that in consideration, it's actually a saving. But yeah, man, thanks again for being here with me today. Do you have any parting words for the audience?
Just be patient, be humble, and try to help other colleagues in the same field. Like, if someone did ask you about any information, don't be like, man, I'm not gonna give out this information because they are gonna do it. They are gonna be more successful. They are not gonna be more successful. Just be humble, be a giver, and you're gonna be good. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, man, thanks for being here with us today, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you, Yoann.
All right,
have a good night.
Hard and you aiming for the 7 figures. Hear from the experts who know how to deliver. Success stories, plenty advice. Time for you to rise. REI tribe, yeah. Real estate agents to investors. All my entrepreneurs, time for you to check this. Yoann Dorat, he's getting it started, man. From running businesses to digital marketing. Hey, REI tribe. REI tribe. Let's go.